Hello, my name is Brandon and I work with the Nisqually River Education Project. I'm here to give you some tips on water quality testing with your classes. Each year, we actively involve hundreds of students in an ongoing water quality monitoring program. We know students love to go out in nature to do real science, and we want to help you make that possible.
We're trying to make sure the water is better for the salmon because they help our wildlife so much.
Sometimes the hardest part for teachers is just getting started, so we hope this video will help you feel more confident to get your kids outside to do water quality testing. I'm going to walk you through water quality monitoring days, and you'll hear from some other educators and students. You'll also get to see some of our classes in action at some of our testing sites. So please remember, our staff is here to support you.
If you're new to this and you find it to be a little bit daunting, have faith it gets better.
It's normal to be nervous before your first field trip. The first thing to get in motion is checking with your school and district to reserve a bus and complete all the necessary paperwork. Make sure to give yourself plenty of lead time for this, sometimes up to a month. We have lots of curriculum available for all grades, so take a look at our websites and consult your water quality manual to get started. Make sure to schedule a pre-trip presentation with our staff for an introduction to water quality monitoring and testing procedures. The #1 suggestion we hear from teachers is to practice the tests in the classroom before your field trip.
I demonstrate the testing in the classroom, and then I have them in small groups do the testing so that when we come out here to do the actual testing, they know what they're doing and they're prepared.
A prepared group of students can really help make your field trip run smoothly.
The best advice that I can give is to make sure that the kids practice in the classroom before they go out. Whether it's with tap water, whether it's with puddle of water or whatever, practice.
It's also important to know your site well. Visit your site in advance of your field trip and visualize where your students will be during different parts of the testing. Set boundaries at your site so students can always be seen.
Being outside with lots of kids near water makes anyone nervous.
Plan on spending at least 1.5 to 2 hours at your site, not including travel time. And before you get off the bus, remind students of behavioral expectations for the day.
I know that you're a kid, but today you're a scientist, and I remind them of that. You act like a scientist, you behave like a scientist, you make choices like a scientist, you work together like a scientist.
Water testing is really important because we're learning about our rivers and our oceans, and we're learning about the water that's here. And a lot of that has to do with animals that live around here, specifically salmon, and it really gives us like a good view of what's going on around us.
Water quality monitoring is important to the health of our community and our local ecosystems, and we want your students to understand why we do this.
It's so beneficial for the kids. They love doing it. They love getting out in nature. They love doing the test and knowing that they're making a difference.
Your students are making a difference. The field trip data is shared with local and regional partners such as jurisdictions in Thurston, Pierce, and Lewis counties, the Department of Ecology, and our local tribes and other stakeholders in the community.
It does make you feel like a real scientist to do stuff like this, which is the best.
Be sure to remind your students that they're contributing to scientific research, helping the salmon and all of the 137 vertebrate species that rely on them. Upon arriving at your site, someone will need to collect water samples. This is usually you, the teacher, as students are generally not allowed in the water. This is both for safety and because too many people in the river negatively impacts the ecosystem.
When we walk down to the water, no one's allowed to walk past me because I want to be the first one in front. I don't let anybody closer than 1 or 2 feet to the water. I do head counts, and I want them to have fun, but they need to be safe.
Safety is extremely important. Everyone needs to wear eye protection and gloves when handling samples or chemicals.
You get to use very dangerous chemicals, but it's also very fun because you get to experience like how it is being a scientist and having to do hard things as you go along.
Students will work in groups and each person should be assigned a role. For example, we suggest 1 reader, 1 scribe, 2 lab techs, and 1 leader or checker. Since we need 3 accurate replicates of each test, students can rotate the different roles. Volunteers are key to a successful testing day. When you send home information about the upcoming field trip, let parents know how important it is to have volunteers along. We recommend at least one volunteer for each of your testing stations, typically 4 to 5 total. If you don't have enough parent volunteers, check with staff at your school, reach out to community members, or ask our staff for assistance. Please feel free to reach out to us. We don't want a lack of volunteers to stop you from getting your kids outside.
The best part that I've had was adding like the chemicals, because I mean, like, it's kind of like sciencey feeling. It kind of makes me feel like you are a scientist.
Some of your students will be done quickly with their tests. We suggest planning some activities to keep them engaged. Consult your water quality manual for an entire chapter of additional activities, such as stream surveys, scavenger hunts, or field journaling. Remind students that this is their watershed too, and we all need to keep it healthy. Be prepared for any kind of weather and dress appropriately. Some teachers send home a reminder to parents with a weather forecast. A rain jacket and a warm coat can make a big difference on a stormy northwest day. Be open and flexible to natural lessons. Seeing an animal in the wild can be very compelling.
It's always really fun to find animals because you can always relate the animals and what they need to your test. So say if any animal that you find needs high DO, you can look at your paper and you can see that we got really high numbers, which is why it's here, and it's always fun to make connections like that.
As we hope you can see, Water Quality Testing Day is fun and engaging for students of all ages. Our goal is to create a new generation of citizen scientists who have a true sense of stewardship for their watershed and all of southern Puget Sound.